Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts. I'm your haunted host, Jennifer, a professional medium and a teller of ghost stories. Dear listener, I am away this week, but there is good reason for this. I'm currently working on a whole bunch of new spooky and spiritual content offerings, including spooky sleep stories, spiritual meditations, and online courses such as mediumship for beginners, just to name a few. But this endeavor is taking me a little bit of time to do so. I don't talk about this much, but I'm not attached to a large studio or production company or anything like that. I do all of the recording, filming, editing, music placement myself. My partner Maxwell helps me edit the spirit readings for time. But other than that, I'm very much a one-woman show. So of course, I completely appreciate your support of this podcast and all of my work. I would not and could not do it without you. So while I'm away creating a little bit of magic, please enjoy this Encore episode. It is one of my favorites, and you may have missed it because it is from way back in the podcast library. Have a wonderful week, and I'll be back with you soon. Hello and welcome to another phantasmic episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I'm your haunted host, Jennifer, a professional medium and a spooky girl who really loves ghost stories. And tonight I found a fringe side topic to share with you, and it's one that I really love reading about: vanishing houses. Are they ghost houses? Are they a case of time slip phenomenon? We may never know, but we can enjoy exploring an old mansion or two as we debate it. And just to turn you around with some paranormal disorientation, I'm also going to add a strange tale of a vanishing room. So I hope you enjoy that as well. And after that, I have a new in-studio spirit reading. So if you're ever curious as to what a medium reading could be like, I love sharing my work here on the podcast. And if you're interested in signing up for a chance for a free session with me, you'll find that info at the end of the reading. But you might not even have to wait that long. In this episode, I'm also including a little mini seance session where I call a departed loved one close who is connected to someone listening to the episode right now. And since you're attending, this could be a connection for you. That's later on in the episode. But for now, let's find some vanishing houses while we can. The spooky is starting right now. Back in the late 50s, I had a job at a waterproofing company in Atlanta. I was their Florida representative, and I visited the state constantly. Over the years, it was occasionally necessary for me to drive up to Atlanta for some business need, and I would spend a few days with my family. This particular Friday morning, I was driving down Highway 19 somewhere in Georgia, and I was passing one little town after another. It was a sunny summer morning, and I slowed as I neared yet another little town. As I came into the northern edge of the town, some quarter of a mile outside the city limits, I found a beautiful, deserted, old Victorian mansion sitting off to the left side of the road. There was an ancient oak tree standing in the front yard, its limbs reaching out some 50 feet or so in all directions. I decided to stop and walk around the house, and since its doors were open, possibly walk inside and see how some of its decor of some 70 years before had survived. Parking beside the house, I got out and walked around the front yard, and after taking in the particular beauty of all old Victorians, I stepped up on the porch and walked into the foyer of the house. The floor was covered with old carpet, and there were pieces of furniture standing here and there. Over by the door to my right, which opened up into a parlor, stood an antique umbrella stand and a bench. The house was cold inside, and this surprised me. It was a summer morning, and the temperature outside was in the 80-90 degree range already. The foyer opened into a wide reception area, something like 20 feet wide. And from either side of the room in front of me, 2 matching staircases climbed in a lazy arc to the landing of the second floor above me. But it was all approaching decay. Walking into the parlor, the floor became spongy and soft, and I became aware of a malevolent energy forming. Even now, 40 years later, the hair on my arms and the back of my neck rises as I remember it. Feeling threatened, I spoke to the house. I said, "Hold on a minute. I mean no harm. I only stopped in to look at the beauty of this wonderful old house. If I'm not wanted, I'll leave." And I did. Outside, before I drove away, I drove back to the stables and found that there were still buggies present in the stalls. I was amazed that anyone would have allowed such a wonderful old house to fall into such a state of disrepair. I drove around to the front of the house, stopping in the bare front yard under the oak tree, and looked again at this beauty. In the later years, I tried again and again to find this house in this little town as I drove south towards Florida, and I could never find it again. The town was and is there, but the house is simply gone. I would have thought no more about it, except for the fact that a friend who knows of my unexpected ghostly encounters asked me about some house I had mentioned years before when I was working in Florida. I repeated this story to her, and to my surprise, she said she had seen the same house. She too had been impressed by its decaying beauty, and she and her husband had stopped a moment to look at it. The unique thing about all of this is that I was looking for that house after I first saw it back in 1947, and she's seen it in the past 20 years herself. Not just her alone, but her husband as well. I've never seen it again. I looked for it for 2 years. I never found it. She saw it on a trip to Florida back in 1987. Where does it go? Why is it sometimes there, and other times there's only a vacant field, and the tree too is missing? She states the tree was there in front of the house, in the yard, just as I described it. I don't have any answers to offer. Me and my friend Jacob go out biking in the forest near my house because it's pretty big and has some nice trails. We'd been biking around for about an hour when we realized we were kind of lost. So we stopped to try and figure out where we were at. My friend's phone wasn't having any luck with connecting when I noticed a house not too far off the trail. So we decided to walk over to the house to check if someone could point us back to the right area. We knocked on the door, and like a horror movie, the door creaked open. We walked in to ask if anyone was there and realized the place was empty. It was mostly furnished, but looked pretty old, and the fridge was rancid. My friend finds a staircase leading up a floor, and we decided to go up and check out that part of the place. The second I put my foot on the staircase, I felt nauseous. I almost fell over because of how bad it felt. My friend helped me walk out of the place, but I collapsed outside and got sick. Once I was done, I sat back and tried to get air. That was when my friend turned around and just mumbled, "What is going on?" I turned around and the entire house was gone. Like there wasn't even dirt or anything to prove the house was there. I mean, it looked like the house had never been there in the first place. There was even a tree growing in a spot where the corner of the house would have been. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, staring at the ground. That's when I realized I had taken a picture of the place on my phone. So I took out my phone. There was a picture, but it was only a picture of the ground covered in dead leaves and grass. We decided that moving on was better than staying there, and after probably a half hour or so, we found our way back to the trails we knew. I have no idea what was really happening that day. Has anyone else seen this? I can't be the only one, right? So, at the house I lived in from the time I was about 4 until I was 15, my bedroom was at the very end of the hallway, but it wasn't always the last room. There was another room past my bedroom that my twin brother and I would occasionally go in to play. It was filled with random stuff, but I don't remember anything specific that was inside. Nobody ever explicitly told us not to go into the room, but it always felt like we were sneaking around somewhere we weren't supposed to be when we went inside that room. We would forget about the room for long periods of time, and then randomly remember it, and then decide to go inside. This happened a lot for the first few years we lived there. We even took one of our best friends inside a few times. One day, when it had been a few months since we had visited the room, I remembered it and suggested we go in and play. My brother and I walked to the end of the hall, but the room was gone. It never appeared again, and neither of our parents remember the room. Are you enjoying your ghostly visit? If so, please follow, like, comment, and share. The ghosts may be talkative, but they are lousy at marketing, so every click helps. Tell your friends, and please leave a kind review so that others might join us. The spirits and I thank you. Welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. My guest this evening is Mischa. Mischa, welcome to the podcast and your spirit reading. How are you doing this evening?
Thank you. I'm super excited. Really happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you are so welcome. I'm excited about this as well. And speaking of this, okay, a woman's coming in, mother, grandmother energy, and she seems excited as well. She's like doing this. Like, aww. I don't know. Did she enjoy music and kind of, she just has this.
Things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, definitely that. Is this your grandmother?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Like music. She's like, oh yeah. She's like, okay, let's go. Okay, let's go. And actually, like, I'm wondering if she had a habit of talking fast when she was excited, or if she just talked a lot, because I kind of had to say, okay, yeah, slow down for me a little bit, because it's hard for me to take everything in at once.
Grandma died when I was 7.5, but I still have lots of memories of her because she was my favorite person. But I don't know if I noticed that or not as a child. Yeah.
Okay. Well, she's saying that you and her are kind of the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we are.
And like, she's really acknowledging that right off the bat. She just seems very enthusiastic. Mm-hmm. And are you an enthusiastic person?
Oh, yeah. Like, if I hear a Bon Jovi song in the grocery store, I will get excited, do a happy dance, and start singing at the top of my lungs and don't care.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful energy. I feel like your grandmother is just shining like that as well. Yeah. She's just like someone you would want to be around. Intelligent woman. Mm-hmm. She seems to be the type of person who would tell you random things she just learned about. Like, she wants to tell me random facts about birds. Does that sound?
Gosh, yes. And I love birds, so maybe I get that love of birds from her.
I'm getting the impression that she was rather crafty. And did she cook? I'm seeing her do
a
lot of things.
A lot of cooking and baking. And in fact, I loved Grandma's apple pie. And after she died, I didn't like any apple pie, like, at all, because it did not taste like my grandma's. And then a few years ago for Christmas, my mom, because this Grandma Marion, was my mom's mom. And my mom found Grandma's recipe for apple pie and made me an apple pie for my Christmas present. And I didn't know at first. She kept saying, come on, have some pie. I'm like, Mom, no, I don't like apple pie anymore. And she's like, it's Grandma's recipe. I made it special for you. And I just started crying. And it tasted just like I remembered. And it was like so special.
Oh, that is amazing. Yeah. That is absolutely amazing. She must do something really special with it that
I don't know.
Everyone else doesn't.
Yeah.
She's also giving me the impression that she has some earthy energy to her. Is that something that you share in common with her as well?
Yeah, and she would go hunting and fishing.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote down boat. Definitely getting that earthy nature vibe, and that she really connected with it. It wasn't just a hobby. Like, this was, this was her. This was important and special. Wonderful. I see the two of you watching something together, and I also got the impression of cartoons. Did you ever watch cartoons over at your grandma's house?
Yeah, I would sit on her lap and we would watch them.
Yeah, I see the two of you very quiet, like together, like really intent. Like, what are they watching? What are they sharing together? It's so sweet. That's so sweet.
Yeah, that's cute.
Is there that was some. I was hearing wind chimes.
Yeah, she used to have them.
Were they on her porch? Were they in the
front yard? Yeah, front by the front door.
Yeah, she was showing me them in the front. Okay, cool. Very cool.
I'm just so glad she came through, because I have such a strong connection with her, and usually I can smell her, like, when she's around me. Like, she used to smell like cigarettes, and I never smoked. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew when I smelled that, that was my grandma. But then, like, a few years ago, she came to me and told me she didn't want to be associated with that smell anymore. So we picked another one, and it was peanut butter cookies, because she used to make those a lot too. But I haven't smelled that. I haven't felt her. So I was just getting kind of sad that, you know, wasn't sure why I wasn't noticing her presence anymore.
Yeah. Who knows cosmically what kind of metaphysical thing she's doing right now in the universe, you know, and just know that we are always connected. And you know this, you don't even need a medium to be there to prove it. We have a spirit, they have a spirit, we can blend. You know? And that's all it is. It's not like the special sense or anything. It's like, no, your special sense is you have a soul.
True.
You know, and I think that's beautiful. I don't know if you know about her passing at all, but she was talking a little bit about some challenges and difficulties, but then she was talking about something happening really fast.
When I was a little girl, I was really sick. I had epilepsy, and it got so bad where I had different types of seizures. I was having 300 seizures a day, and
oh my goodness.
I wouldn't eat. I was super thin, no appetite, really tired, obviously. And my grandma died of a brain tumor. I wanted to be with my grandma. I knew she was sick, but her whole body hurt by the end, like any movement. Well, I had crawled up and just like nuzzled under her arm, and my mom got really mad, saying, no, you can't, you're going to hurt grandma. And grandma was like, no, I want her here. Aww. And I didn't say anything. She just like held me. And then I had to go home, and grandma prayed to take away my seizures and to give them to her so I wouldn't have to have seizures anymore. And when I went home, grandma, I guess, had a big seizure, a big grandma seizure. When she came out of it, she asked my mom, has Shelly had a seizure? Has Shelly had, because 300 a day, I was having them like every 15 minutes. Yeah. And she called my dad. My mom called my dad and asked, and my dad's like, no, it's been like over an hour. She hasn't had one. It's the weirdest thing. And so grandma was like, it worked. And my mom's like, what worked? And grandma told her. And grandma was like crying happy tears. And like minutes later, she had another seizure and she passed. Oh. And I didn't have any seizures for like a really long time. Like 20 years I went without a seizure after that, you know.
What a gift she gave you.
Yeah.
Yeah, from my perspective, she was talking about this ordeal of challenges and difficulties, and then something happening really fast. And when you brought up the seizures, it's like, oh, I think she really was trying to convey that to me. And thank you so much for sharing. And this does not surprise me at all. Just the energy that she's bringing in, and it just being so earthy. And she just seems like just such a magical person, and just so special and wonderful. And she looks at you now, and she keeps saying to me, we're the same. And, you know, if there's any way I can convey how much she loves you and is so proud of you, and just, she really thinks that like she lives on through you because you're the same, you know?
Oh, wow. That makes me cry.
Yeah, it's just so special. And I'm honored to be able to convey this to you.
Thank you so much.
You mentioned her pain. Did she have arthritis too? Because she keeps showing me her hands and her knuckles.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. And did she have a favorite sweater or shirt that she always wore all the time? Like, oh, that's grandma's. I'm seeing a pattern here in what she wore.
She would wear like her jeans kind of rolled up like capris, and short sweaters with their sleeves pushed up. And sometimes they had little buttons and just casual, but, and I kind of dress that way too. It's funny.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Do you like to walk around barefoot?
Yes.
Because she's showing me bare feet.
That's funny. That's cute.
Yeah. I mentioned her magic. She seems to be able to just manifest. And she's saying the same for you, that like,
wow.
Think of yourself as a magician, and what are you going to do with that energy, with that power? Yeah. We kind of see power as a bad word, but it's like, no, we all have power. We all have energy. We all have influence, right? Yeah. So she's just like, honey, what you want to do it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, that creativity, the ability to manifest, like have an idea, pull it into your reality, and don't doubt it. Don't overthink it. Just do it and enjoy it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Enjoy it. Right.
Oh my
just
gosh.
Like you just like how you dance in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Doesn't, carefree, just do it. 'Cause like celebrate your life. Right. She does have, a couple messages for you that I wrote down, in my prep.
Okay.
And it's, listen to your intuition. Okay. Like, let that guide you. Okay. When you don't, worry can come in.
Oh, yeah.
She says.
Okay.
And she says, don't focus on the bad, okay?
Okay.
Like she said, like a question, like, don't focus on the bad. So listen to your intuition. Listen, connect with your spirituality. Because when you untether from that and wander off and get distracted, that's when the worry comes in.
Okay.
Right.
And that's when I manifest the bad things.
And who doesn't, right? So I love giving messages because all of us are listening, including me.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said, don't focus on the bad, okay?
Okay.
And nurture yourself.
Okay.
You have a wonderful nurturing energy, but make sure that you direct that at yourself first so that you are flourishing, and then you can give that to others. Okay. I think sometimes we leave ourselves out of the equation.
Yeah.
So there you go. Do you have any questions or anything before we end your session?
I was curious if Grandma had like any kind of, well, it sounds like lineage related to like being a witch or anything like that.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It was something that I wanted to kind of ask you about, but that could also be a sensitive subject. But yes, definitely less. Okay. And she had knowledge. Okay. She really did. I think she put her energy into her baking and her cooking, and she was a bit of a kitchen witch.
And so am I. Yeah.
Okay. All right, there you go. Yeah, because when I saw her doing this, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're putting, not only are you putting ingredients in, you're putting your energy into it as well. And that definitely was coming through.
That's awesome because I felt so connected to my grandma, even though I was young when she died. Most of my childhood memories are centered around her. Mm-hmm. And nobody else in my family is like her. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was always this hush hush around magic or witchcraft or anything, metaphysical. Sure. Mm-hmm. And so I always felt like alone in my family because of that. And I did have a sense that maybe Grandma was different. And so I always, and
there's probably that thread in the messaging there. We're the same. We're the same, and for her to bring that up, like right away, even before you ask that question, it's kind of answering it for you, she's like, me and you, we're the same. We're the same. And, I just see it in so many different ways, besides, DNA, energy, personality, gifts, and, for her to say, that you're a magician, you've got magic, and what are you going to manifest? What are you going to do with it? And to celebrate it and to encourage that in you, and I do think that she's definitely still surrounding you in your physical space, and just quietly. It can be so subtle, right? But clear little space, mentally quiet, and just say, okay, I'm here. And with all that love in your heart, just you'll feel the energy shift, and just say, okay, come closer, be with me. Let's share a moment.
Okay.
So,
I love that. It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, before we go, do you have a ghost story that you want to share?
Oh, I have so many.
Listener ghost story.
When I was married to my second husband, for a long time, and I didn't know it, he struggled with addiction, with both. He would vary between cocaine and marijuana, and I didn't know anything at the time. So he was either up or down,
Sure.
And we were separated for a long time, but then he got help. And when we came back together and we're living together again, it's like these demons were kind of attacking him, and he was in bed and I was still up. It's like close to midnight, and I hear him kind of screaming. And I go in there, and he's yelling his name, his last name. He's like, Brooks, Brooks. And all of a sudden, the bed comes up, like levitates about 3 feet above the ground, and it's shaking. And I'm like, oh my God. And I just started spouting anything I could think of. I'm like, you are not welcome here. You have to leave this place in the name of Jesus Christ and Archangel Michael and all this stuff. I'm just yelling at this whatever's going on, and he's like shaking in the bed, and then all of a sudden it just plops back down, and my husband just kind of slides off the bed, and he like couldn't move or anything, and I had to like his weight was just dead, and was all clammy and everything. It was really freaky. He felt like he was dying, and they were coming to get him. He said they were like these black shadowy figures, and they were like dragging him. And then he heard me calling, and then it like stopped moments after, and they let him go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is one scary story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Wow.
You're welcome. Yeah. When something physical happens like that you just can't explain. I mean, it's one thing if you see or hear or even smell something, or something touched me, but a bed levitating. Oh my gosh.
It was insane. I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Sign up for your chance to be selected by visiting italktoghosts.com/guest. And as an added bonus, if you don't want to leave your reading up to chance, I'll let you in on a secret. There's a discount offer to book a private session with me, so you can book a date and time for certain. Visit italktoghosts.com/guest for more details. I can't wait to meet you. Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. I have a message from the spirits this evening, so thank you for joining me around the seance table to speak a little bit about my process. What I mean by that when I say I ground and center, I try to take my analytical mind and quiet it, dampen it, visualize putting it to the side and opening myself up energetically to being here right now in this moment. And sometimes I even visualize opening a spiritual door in my head with the intention of someone to come close, connected to someone listening to the podcast with a message of love and support. So this evening, I'm getting the sense of someone's boyfriend who has passed. He's talking about a lot of drama and politics that both of you had to deal with his family, and that it unfortunately hasn't let up since his passing. And he's really sorry about that and still wants to offer support as you deal with family conflict. He's also acknowledging your heavy grief and that it's not fair that you are grieving and dealing with personal drama at the same time. He wants to encourage you as much as you can to disconnect and distance yourself from all of that drama, to not be pulled in and to not let it emotionally stir things up for you. He's suggesting that you put on his old watch and his old sweatshirt and cuddle up on the couch with your dog and watch a movie and just take care of yourself for you. Things don't have to be fair and equal for everyone involved, so don't get tied up in what everyone is saying is right and fair for them, because there are so many different opinions in the world, and just protect yourself as much as you can. He's also saying to focus on your own personal truth. Everyone has their own personal truth, and we have to guard ours and protect ours and nurture ours and not worry about everyone else and what they think and what they're doing. And he also is saying that you have just so much potential, and that there's something that perhaps you've wanted to start for quite a while and haven't yet. And obviously you've been dealing with some things, but maybe you can turn some of your energy and focus onto that, and maybe that'll help and be good for you. I think I'm going to leave it at that. So if this connection makes sense to you and this message resonates with you, I would really love to know. So please reach out. Thank you. Book a medium reading with me. If you have a past loved one you would like to connect with, a spirit reading can be an amazing and never spooky experience. I strive to give you specific details that align only to you and your loved ones. Curious? Visit italktoghosts.com for links to book with me. I can't wait to meet you. Welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. Before we part ways this evening, I'd like to give a spooky shout out to my Patreon supporters. A big thank you to Raven and Jenna, Peter, Emily, Jessica, Jennifer C., Rob, Gordon, Gabriel, Daniel, James, Gabe, Renee, Jennifer A., and Steven. So thank you for supporting the podcast. And if you're interested, dear listener, in supporting the podcast as well, you can visit patreon.com/italktoghosts. Thank you. And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed these spooky stories of vanishing houses as much as I have. I really enjoy this topic. And I remember one from my childhood growing up in Chicago. If you've heard of Bachelor's Grove, it is this old cemetery in one of the forest preserves outside of Chicago, and it is said to have a vanishing house as well. Now, the story I heard as a little kid was that if you park your car and find the small path that leads into the woods to the cemetery, there's another path behind the cemetery that will lead you further into the woods. And some say when they take that path, after what seems like a really long time of walking, they start to see the hint of a house in the distance. It's this old, decrepit mansion. And although you do get a better view of this house as you walk down the path, no matter how far you continue to walk, you can never reach this house. And sometimes it becomes smaller and smaller until you can't see it anymore. And the danger here is that you're so deep into the woods, there's a risk you might not find your way out. I'm sure there are other variations of this story, and if you know one or have an experience with Bachelor's Grove and this vanishing house, I would love to hear it. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.